Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch in the raw wilderness of eastern Utah, nestled beneath the Uinta Basin, Blind Frog Ranch had long held its secrets close. Rumors of buried Spanish gold, unmarked graves, electromagnetic anomalies, and inexplicable occurrences had drawn treasure hunters, conspiracy theorists, and skeptics alike. Yet none had managed to pierce the veil of truth. Dr. Emery Voss was not drawn by legends. A geologist and material scientist of unimpeachable credentials, he had scoffed at the law that surrounded Blind Frog Ranch. Hired through a quiet grant program masked as environmental survey work, Emery arrived with one goal: to test subterranean mineral deposits in relation to seismic irregularities. Upon first inspection, the land seemed unremarkable. Dusty red earth, gnarled juniper trees, sandstone outcroppings carved by time and wind. The ranch owners had long drilled into the limestone bedrock, constructing an elaborate network of tunnels, hoping to uncover veins of precious metals. Emery was granted full access to these passageways. What he found, they would rewrite the boundaries of natural law. Inside one of the deeper shafts, tucked behind a collapsed rockfall, Emery discovered a narrow corridor cut with precision impossible for colonial-era tools. The walls were smooth, vitrified in places, and shimmered under his LED lamp with an iridescence reminiscent of bismuth crystals. The further he went, the more the tunnel seemed to resist natural explanation. Even his instruments, magnetometers, spectrometers, wavered between readings, offering inconsistent and conflicting data. At the terminus of the passage, he came upon a cavern, not vast, but symmetrical in a way that whispered intention. Set into the center was a low stone pedestal, atop which rested a concave dish of dark metal. Around the edges of the room were niches hollowed into the walls, each containing strange remains, skeletal, humanoid yet not quite human, their proportions subtly wrong. Emery collected samples, scrapings from the dish, a dusting from the niche, a shard of stone from the pedestal. Back at his mobile lab, under UV and X-ray diffraction, the dish revealed itself to be made of a substance not found in any known natural alloy. A lattice of atomic structure that did not align with periodic expectations. Within the molecular arrangement were isotopic variants never recorded in Earth's crust. The material behaved as if it had been subjected to intense pressures and temperatures, but bore no scorch marks, no signs of smelting. Curiosity metastasized into obsession. Emery ran test after test. Mass spectrometry indicated trace elements that seemed to fluctuate when unobserved. He rigged motion trigger cameras, Geiger counters, thermal imaging. Each night, the readings diverged. Thermographic maps showed periodic cold spots that pulsed with rhythmic regularity, synchronized as if the cavern itself were breathing. The soil sample from beneath the pedestal contained high concentrations of mercury and antimony, and traces of monoatomic gold, unbound, pure, and incredibly reactive. No natural geological process could account for it. Emery cross-referenced ancient texts, digging into arcane chemistry, historical metallurgy, and occult references. One term began to reappear with unnerving frequency: prima materia alchemy, long considered the derided precursor to modern chemistry, centered on transmutation, the conversion of base metals into noble ones. But deeper into the texts were suggestions that the great work, the magnum opus, had never been about gold alone. It was about the elevation of matter itself, the refinement of physical reality into its purest state. The philosopher's stone, according to these texts, was a process, a matrix, an energy field capable of bending the very framework of nature. Emery now considered the possibility that the dish he had found was a catalytic basin, a reaction vessel for alchemical transformation. He returned to the cavern with renewed focus. On his third expedition, he brought with him a vacuum-sealed vial of lead isotopes, intending to test for any sign of transmutation. After placing the vial in the center of the dish and activating a low-frequency harmonic wave, mimicking the natural resonance of the cavern, he retreated to his observation post. The vial began to glow, softly at first, then brighter, until its surface turned mirror-like and cracked open. The lead within had not just changed, it had become something else entirely. Analysis back in the lab revealed a spectrum signature matching that of high-purity platinum. Emery did not sleep that night. The conversion was impossible under terrestrial conditions. The energy required to change one element into another, true nuclear transmutation, was on the scale of stars, not stone caves. And yet it had happened. He began documenting his findings meticulously. Peer review evidence, and he knew the scientific community would disbelieve him without seeing the results firsthand. He mailed duplicate data drives to several trusted colleagues under cryptic cover names. But it was the behavioral anomalies that truly unnerved him. The longer he spent near the dish, the more his perceptions changed. Time dilated subtly. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. His dreams grew vivid and ritualistic, visions of impossible geometries, of beings wrapped in veils of mercury light, of languages spoken in pure resonance rather than sound. Objects moved when unobserved. His compass spun when facing the cavern mouth. He found symbols etched in the walls that had not been there before. Glyphs that mirrored those found in Mesopotamian cylinder seals and on the tablets of Hermes Trismegistus. The cavern was not just a laboratory. It was a temple. One morning, Emery awoke with his palm stained in a burnished blue residue. Testing showed it was the same monatomic gold he had found near the pedestal, but now bonded to organic matter. It had fused to his skin at a cellular level, harmlessly, but irrevocably. The realization struck with chilling clarity. He had been inducted, not just as an observer, but as a participant. He began to speculate. Was this site a remnant of a forgotten civilization, one that had discovered a form of elemental engineering? Or worse, was it still active, the relic of something non-human, operating on laws outside conventional physics? His final experiment involved placing a simple iron bar in the basin, initiating the resonance wave, and bombarding the cavern with infrared pulses. The reaction was immediate. The cavern vibrated, emitting a harmonic tone that caused his cameras to fail. The iron bar began to levitate, suspended above the dish, spinning faster and faster until it imploded into a pinprick of light and vanished. It had not burned. It had not shattered. It had ceased to be. A week later, Emery disappeared. When search teams arrived, they found no signs of struggle. His laptop remained open, displaying a partially rendered 3D model of the cavern. The dish was gone. The pedestal was fractured, as though struck from below. The tunnel entrance had collapsed behind a wall of fused glass and stone. But in the center of his lab, resting on a clear acrylic plinth, was a cube. 5 inches on each side, impossibly heavy for its size. Composed of an alloy no metallurgist could identify. Inscribed on its surface were 7 interlocking circles and one word, etched in microscopic script. Transmuta. His notes, encrypted and sent weeks earlier, began to circulate quietly through niche scientific circles. The reactions were predictable: dismissal, skepticism, mockery. But a few, physicists, chemists, mathematicians, saw the patterns and began their own investigations. One even ventured to the Uinta Basin under a pseudonym, only to return days later, eyes haunted, refusing to speak of what he had seen. Blind Frog Ranch remains cordoned off today. Officially, it's a site of geological instability. But those who know whisper of something deeper, an alchemist's vein running through the earth, hidden not by time, but by the blindness of belief. And beneath the desert stone, the work continues, unseen and eternal.